Well, hello everybody. We are live again today. I've been like Little Miss Live because I'm front loading a bunch of stuff. And Louise was nice enough to join me. How late is it where you are?
It's 8.
It's 8 o'clock. Now, I don't know, those of you who have homesteads, you understand that she's 1 hour from country midnight right now. And usually 1 hour from country midnight, we're like all drinking tea and reading our books and wanting to go to sleep. But that might not be how Louise lives her life. But she is definitely cool, and she has a really fun story. And I'm going to let her tell her story because she's a homesteader now, building an off-grid homestead. But she's had a few other lives. So tell us about your past lives in this life, basically.
I love that. A few other lives. Yes, it does feel like that. It's like reinventing yourself time and time again.
Yeah.
So thank you for having me on, first of all. Second of all, hi, everyone. Yes, my name is Louise. We are living off the grid. It's actually super dark out here. I'm in my tent, which is my office, and I have this extremely bright light in my face. You guys can see me, and I feel like it's like washing me out, but whatever. So I live I live in the northern part of Georgia, like really close to the border of Tennessee, but technically on the Georgia side. But like Nicole said, we didn't always live here. We haven't always been doing this. Our journey started like my husband, right after, probably 11 years ago or so, my husband decided to join the military right after he got out of college. Actually didn't really finish. He just kind of like was like, whatever, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. So he joined the military. And what he quickly realized, although he loved serving his country, absolutely loved it, what he quickly realized was it was like the life that he didn't like. He had like the opposite life of freedom, and all he really wanted was freedom. He was told where he had to live, how he had to dress. I mean, how he had to shave his face. I mean, everything that he had to do, like he was told how, like when he could do it. So he served his 6 years, and like as soon as he got out, he was like, I'm done with this, right? Like before it was like even time to go, we were already like plotting like our next steps of how we were gonna like be free. We just wanted to spread our wings, and like, he missed the first half of our first daughter's life. I mean, he wasn't there for her birth, he wasn't there for taking away the binky, he wasn't there for potty training, he wasn't there for like any of it. Like her first steps, he missed it all because he was constantly deployed. And so it was just one of those things. So when he got out, we decided we were going to go, and we were never, ever going to have to be, working for someone else ever again. No one was ever going to dictate. And so off-grid living is actually not new to us. The very first time that we lived off-grid, we moved down to South America. We were living in Chile. And we bought 5 acres down there. Didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into, but we literally had everything that we owned fit into this one like box, and we like shipped it down there and unpacked it all, got to this new place, and it was like this tiny little cabin, and we decided that we were just gonna like learn how to do this, right? Like we didn't know what we were doing. We like literally jumped in head first. We're like, this is the thing, right? So if you're someone who's watching this, maybe you've been following Nicole for a long time, and you're like, oh, it's really cool what she does. Like you literally can figure it out as you go, and that's what we did. And so we converted everything to be like fully 100% on solar, and even like our water systems, where like our sink was like you recycling the water to go into the toilet, and or like the bath water was
Gray
going
water.
into the gray water, all that stuff. We were just playing around with that type of stuff. Came back from traveling, and we moved back to the States, but we were still we didn't have a home base, so we still like we'd come back to the States, we'd live in a camper, and then we'd go travel more, and we'd come back, and then we'd go travel more. And then when all the stuff happened, it was like we realized that our lifestyle wasn't really going to be very easy anymore, like just getting around to all the places.
Yeah.
So we decided we needed to settle. We bought land, and we started building our off-grid permaculture. That's what I call it, my off-grid permaculture paradise. We're just out here tucked away, and we're living life on our terms, and we're really fully going for the full self-sufficiency. I mean, like we're still pretty far from full self-sufficiency, but that is the goal, which is why I love Nicole so much, because her self-reliance stuff and just all the things. Yeah. That's where
Yeah, I'm not 100% self-reliant yet either. I think self-reliance is like it's a percentage of your life, and you can only do one thing at a time. I think a lot of times people get into this journey and they want to deploy everything all at once, and it's like, I should do a video of what my house looks right now, because usually it doesn't look like this, but everything has been pulled out of all the corners and it's all just heaped in the middle because I'm doing a massive purge. And then other stuff got in the way. So then I haven't finished the massive purge. So now I'm like, this is total chaos. And part of why it's chaos is I started too many things and then didn't finish them.
Right.
And so it's like hopes and dreams stacked up against, like in the shelves and things that I'm never going to. It's like I have gotten to the point where I just need to admit I'm not doing things and get rid of them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Yeah. You tell yourself, look, that's going to have to be another day, another time.
yeah.
But
somebody else wants
but I
to
love
make soap. I don't want to make soap anymore.
Right. Right. No, I love that. But I love that you provide the education for people. So I think that like most people are not fully like most people are just one degree or whatever, but it's nice that you have the, because the first time I ever learned about you and heard about you was from the Self-Reliant Festival. As my husband was like, we have to make it to this. We had like plans that weekend. And he was like, we're canceling everything. We're going to this Self-Reliant Festival. And I was like, okay, let's do it then. And he first learned at your festival was the first time that he really got to sit there and talk to somebody who was blacksmithing and was like watching him do his, set up his forge and do all that stuff. And now my husband is, out here with his own forge and makes his own knives. My kids are all into it now. My two 11 and 8-year-old girl, they all have their little homemade knives that they made from like an old hay baler we found on the property. And we're but he learned that he learned part of, he was exposed to it first at your festival. So it's good to know that you're putting out this stuff that people are taking it and they're doing things with it. So I appreciate the fact that you put these festivals and stuff on too.
Thanks. But we're here to talk about you. And so you're doing this off grid. How long have you been there?
We've been here. So we bought the property almost 2 years ago, but we haven't really been living out here in probably about 14 months or so. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you got there, was it raw land? Like what did you buy?
Yes. Completely raw land, 26 acres. We purchased the property because it actually has levels. It has, about 3 levels. And so we wanted to build. We're currently going to be building. It actually sounds kind of ridiculous, but it's pretty cool. We're going to be building a castle. And the 2 turrets of the castle are grain bins, like the silos. And we're going to actually have the outside is actually, it's not going to look like a grain bin. There's going to be stones and stuff on the outside. So it looks like a castle. But then the back end of the castle is going to be all hempcrete. So we're building with alternative material that it's breathable, it's mold resistant, fire resistant, there's so many benefits of growing, so we're trying to be sustainable at the same time while being self-sufficient, while being I don't know, just using the earth to build the home that we're going to live in as well. So that's kind of but yeah, it was bare land when we first got out here. There was nothing out here. There's a creek, and then there was just that's it. So now we've got our camper we're living in right now while we're building. We have a little tiny shed that has been converted into a tiny home. It's almost ready for we're hoping to get here. Yeah, it's so close. We're getting the compost toilet should be here next week, and then after that we're we're so close. So we can have people come out and visit and farm and help on the farm and stuff like that, get experience.
Yeah. Are you going to bring woofers in?
Well, we thought about that. So yeah, that's something that we're considering. We're just we're learning that this whole thing is it's hard, kind of like what you said. We do a lot of the same things. We jump into all these projects and we realize oh, whoops, we got a little too far ahead of ourselves. Yeah. So then we have all of these things, right? And then it's hard to get. So it's I know that we need some sort of say some sort of help and some sort of assistance. And so I love the woofer idea because lots of people are looking for experience, and lots of people have this vision of what it's like to live off grid, and people are oh, I want to try, I want to experiment. I'm hey, come out, come help us, come get your experience, and I'll put you to work.
I'll even cook you something.
Yeah. Yeah, I can cook you. Yeah, exactly. So I like that idea, but we haven't signed up for it or done anything like that yet. We're still in the very infancy phase of all of that stuff.
Yeah, and I'm so Autumn Dawn. Do you know Dawn from the Self-Reliance Festival information booth? She was there.
No. Okay.
So they're building an off-grid homestead right now too, near Camden.
Nice.
You two need to be BFFs. That's just my thought there.
We should connect on.
Yeah, she'll be at Self Reliance Festival. But I've been looking with interest at Paul Wheaton's Skip program because it's sort of like an internship producing program where he has people come in, they do permaculture projects, and at the end of it, they get certification, and then you can bring a Skip certified person to your house, which means they kind of know what's going on before they get there.
Okay.
Which I thought was cool. I assume you have to pay for them to come, but sometimes it's just like I just need to pay the guy to put the fence in,
right?
Because
right.
the fence is not going in otherwise.
Yeah, no, we've definitely realized that. Like sometimes it's like my husband is so into, he wants to do every little thing, and it's like sometimes you just have to outsource it because you're either running out, I don't know, sometimes it's worth it. And then also it's like supporting people that are doing stuff like that. Like I'm all about, like if I can support somebody who's doing something amazing like that, I'm like, by all means, like tell me your price, like let's do this. So I'd be interested in hearing more about that. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah. So it's probably at permies.com. Look for Skip, like skip to the loo, SKIP. That would be definitely one to look at. Okay. But you came to me because you're friends. You have other interests besides homesteading, right?
Yeah. So I'm just writing permies.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I'm all over the place. I have so many things. But I really started this journey. Actually, what led me down this homesteading path was back when my husband was in the military and we had a baby. And when you become a mother, like you start to think about all the different things that you never thought about before you were a mother, right?
Yeah.
And I really started like an activist journey of, just kind of like wanting to like buck the system, like anti-Monsanto, GMO seeds are awful. Like that's where I really like started. And then it was like everything needs to be like organic. And I really started looking into like, our foods, which led me down the path of like what goes on our skin and our bodies and our toxics and what goes in our bodies, by medical procedures and just all the different things that my eyes just started getting opened like wider and wider. And actually, that's partially why we started traveling, because I was kind of like, before we lived in the US, and like, it's funny because like my husband was like, whatever. But I started becoming kind of like anti-America because I was like, our country sucks. Our country does all these awful things. I was like, we're gonna leave America. Like America sucks. America's forcing all these like, horrible things on their people. And then we started traveling, and in the span of like 4 years, we went to like 15 different countries, and then we came back to the US, and we're like, actually, we're like super glad to be here, and America's wonderful, and we're so grateful that we live in the country that we live in.
Yeah.
But so I kind of was on this health journey, and that's how I ended up being connected with Tia and the Next Steps event, which is what we were ultimately going to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
So I kind of got really into this health freedom movement because I believe that, like there's, I don't know what we can talk about on here and what we can't talk about on here.
I don't have any strikes at this time, so you can give me a strike if you say something. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Well, I started getting into just, more about wanting to make sure that we have freedom to choose the medical procedures, that we're not mandated anything, especially after all the COVID stuff started going on. And like, well, I was in it way before then, but then when that came on, it was like, it was like, whoa, this is happening a lot faster than, so anyways, there's a whole thing, right? And in the medical freedom world, the thing is that there's so many people out there that are just like, they want to be like rallying and they want to be like mad at everybody. And I get it. Like, I get it. A lot of them have a very good reason to be upset. I get it. But what I notice is not a lot of them are like taking action steps like homesteading or, grow at least gardening and growing food and like, and just removing themselves from this big system that they want to fight. It's like they're fighting the system, but then they're staying stuck in the same system that they're trying to fight. And it's this, and I look at it from the outside and I'm like, y'all, like you're missing something. While simultaneously fighting the system, like we need to be doing stuff about it. And so when Tia started this Next Steps event, it was like that. The whole thing is she's bringing everything together. It's like we've got the medical freedom, we've got lots of doctors on there that are really like Pierre Corey and Peter McCullough, and we've got Kimberly Overton from the Nurse Freedom Network who's going to come in, like nurses who have literally quit because they're like, I won't be a part of what's going on in the medical world today. And they've removed themselves from the system. And then they're educating and they're talking to people and they're helping and they're set. The thing about the people that are at this event is that they're looking for, they're participating in the solutions. They're not just complaining about the problems. And so it's so good to be able to see, to me, what this event represents is like my medical freedom world getting clashed in with like the homesteading off-grid world and the homeschooling. Like it's all kind of coming together at this one big, beautiful event. And I've been to homesteading events and I love them because homesteaders are my people. I've been to medical freedom events. I love them because medical freedom people are like my people. But to like bring it together, it's like, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's funny how as you go down a pathway of freedom, however you come there, left, right, or center, and based on your interests, could be schooling, could be medical, could be food freedom, could be self-defense freedom, like all of these things, property ownership freedom. If you truly understand what freedom is, you start loving a lot of other quote unquote movements that you would have never thought you were going to be involved in. Because even if you don't agree with the personal choices everybody makes in that movement, you're like, yep, but you should have the freedom to make your choice, and that's fine. And that's where when I see people who are kind of stuck in the system, like you say, they're like one step into freedom, but they haven't totally understood that means you have to stop being a busybody about other people's decisions. Basically, that's the leap they haven't made. You'll hear them be like all pro, I had one, where was I? They were pro school choice. So homeschooling, school choice, all of that. Parents are in charge. And then Joel Salatin gets up and talks about raw milk. And they're like, yeah, but raw milk will kill you. That shouldn't be legal. And I'm like, no. So, and I almost engaged, and I thought, if I engage in a negative way, they're not going to ever get to the point where they realize, well, I mean, if you actually dig into it, raw milk doesn't kill very many people. There's that. You can get sick and die from raw milk if it's mishandled and dirty. But it doesn't kill that many people. And it's delicious. And I actually personally think some of that, so the living food is good for you, in my opinion. And that's living food. That's why I get raw milk. And, and that's my decision. Likewise, if I wanted to take a magic mushroom, that's my decision. I am an adult and nobody should be able to tell me what I put in my body.
Right.
And nobody should tell me I have to put something in my body I don't want to.
Right.
That doesn't have a lot of research behind it. So, it's interesting. I'm looking forward to this because I'm going to be interacting with a whole bunch of people from like the homeschool and school choice and off-grid networks. I've been in a lot of those networks. Medical freedom, the side I was on was more free market medical. So getting insurance out of the way, getting certificate of need out of the way, getting the government out of and the insurance companies out of the doctor's way, because doctors can't doctor. So you're muted for some reason.
Oh, yeah. I
am muted.
No, totally.
Are you an airplane?
Yeah, I had an airplane go by.
Sweet. And so for me, that's going to be interesting to see, because I know when I talked to Tia, her motivation came from, I think one of her children was vaccine injured. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so then she started looking into vaccines, and she's like, we don't even need these things. But it's really, really hard. If you think vaccines are something that a person should take, and that they, if there is a benefit to it, that you take it, and you still don't think you should give your baby however many you're supposed to give them in the first year of their life, it's really hard to keep the doctors from doing that right now. And I know that from when I don't have children, but my sister has children, and your internet's frozen. So I'm going to keep talking until I see you move again. I know how hard it was for my sister, who, she wanted 5 vaccines over their childhood later, to like the accusations, the waivers that you have to get, all of that stuff. And then when 2020 happened, that became impossible for her to even do anymore where she lives. And to watch that happen and just think, we have vaccine injured adults in my family, so hereditarily it would be reasonable to assume that there's a risk for the children.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But we're not allowed to make that. Not allowed to make that decision. It's kind of offensive.
Yeah. No, it blows my mind because it's like doctors these days, they won't write medical exemptions or anything like that unless the child themselves have had some sort of reaction. Well, guess what? The child themselves, they at that point they're injured. Like, so if there is a reason to believe, I mean, you really shouldn't even need a reason to believe if the mother themselves intuitively says, I don't want this.
Yeah.
I don't want this for my child, then there should be no force of anything, you know? But even so, like if they need to know, like, oh, we have to make sure that this baby's going to have a reaction. We can't do any sort of medical exemption. It's like, what? Like, you're going to wait until they're injured and they're hurt, which sometimes is irreversible. And then you're like, oh, now we'll go ahead and make a medical exemption. And in California, where I lived, like I got really involved with SB 277, which was like, I don't even know how many years ago, probably 6-7 years ago, maybe now. My kids were babies, you know, my kids were never ever going to go to a public school anyways. And so I knew that. But SB 277, for those that don't know, it was one of the first bills that came through the US that was forcing all children to be vaccinated in order to go to school. If you wanted to be in a public school, and then even a private school, and now they're trying to say homeschool too. Like, I mean, it was just like, this is the thing, right? You give an inch, they take a mile. But we fought, you know, tooth and nail. I was at the front line of that. I was at every single, you know, I was at the hearings, I was at the rallies. I was in and out of legislator offices, and it was like insane to see. Well, yes, it's California, but California sets the precedent for the rest of the country, right? So people, you know, once something flies over there, then it's only a matter of time before it. So it's like so important that although sometimes we're like, oh, it's California, like they're going to do what they're going to do. It's like, but that's where we have to like stop it from happening so that it doesn't, you know, it's just crazy. But yeah, there's a lot of doctors that were made examples of, and any doctors that were writing medical exemptions that were then put on suspension or were then told, you know, you can only write 5 per year. And it's like, how can you tell a doctor 5 per year? You don't know how many patients they're going to have that have legitimate, like, medical reasons. You know, it's just crazy. It's insane. And then we're going to hear from Peter McCulloch. So he's going to be at this event as one of the main speakers. And, you know, he is like a world-renowned cardiologist that has like more peer-reviewed research than like maybe any other cardiologist. I'm not even
sure. But he's wrong. He's wrong, Louise. He's wrong.
He's been like this amazing doctor for all these years. Now all of a sudden he's speaking out and they're like, we're going to take your license. It's like, what? Like, excuse me? Like, of course, because he's not going to go along with the narrative that they want to go along with, which is push the vaccines, get them all vaccinated, you know. Dr. Bob Sears, yes, Dr. Bob Sears had some issues in California. I love Dr. Bob Sears, one of my favorite people, and I stood with him. But yeah, they put him under, what did they do? They suspended him, and then they put him on probation to where he had to have other, like, I mean, it was so, they humiliated him and made him look like, you know, and all he was doing was protecting his patients. So many people were going to him because he was the only one that would do it, because no other doctor was like, they were so scared they'd lose their license. And Bob Sears was like, come on, I'll take it on. And then sure enough, they completely destroy it. Like, it's just insane what they can do. But yeah, so it's going to be fun to watch this world clash with homesteader and medical freedom people, and all coming together being like, look, we can really do awesome things if we all start, you know, paying attention to the other parts.
Cross-pollinating and supporting each other. Because I think one of the things I've learned most over my life and just working in a freedom arena and you know, daring to live the life I want to live, which is not approved by most people, but I don't care, is that when you get pressure from the alphabet soup agencies, if a lot of people make the alphabet soup agency in question look ridiculous, they tend to go away because they don't like looking stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't really have legal standing and it's one person against alphabet soup, it's hard to push them back. But if it's 100,000 people against alphabet soup, it starts to make a difference. And that's where I think this cross-pollination can be good. We can make real relationships at next steps with people who we haven't met yet, like who I haven't met yet. I know some of the speakers who are speaking there, but I don't, you know, I from the medical freedom side, I haven't been in medical networks in probably 8 years now. Mm. So I'm looking forward to seeing those speakers and to meeting people and to seeing if we can get them to start coming to some of our things as well. And to have an understanding that, like, we are an underground network. We are an alternative. And that means if somebody gets targeted, the homesteaders need to help the medical people. The medical people need to help the the homeschoolers. The homeschoolers, I don't even know what other networks are. The preppers, need to help the preppers, whatever.
Right. Right.
Because we can when we all stand as one, it's hard.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things that I think about when we start talking about creating our, parallel society and all this stuff, like we have a
Yeah.
lot out here like, where we want to grow some food. We've got our pigs, we've got our chickens, we've got our garden, we've got our cows, we've got all the stuff that we have in place. But like, we talk about it and my husband, like, we use our tractor often. Like my kids like to climb really high in trees. And it's like, what would happen if somebody got injured or somebody got hurt? And it's like, we don't live in fear at all. So this is not what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm not scared to go to a hospital. Like if I need attention, I'm going to go to the hospital and I'm not going to let them do anything that I don't want them to do to me. But there is a concern about wanting to go into the establishments that I don't agree with and I don't participate in. And so it's really nice to know that like some of the people that are going to be there. I love that your cat's hanging out.
I know my cat has joined the live stream, guys. Who is this? This is LT.
But yeah, some of the speakers that are going to be there, they have their own systems already set up. Like Kimberly Overton for the Nurse Freedom Network, she's launched Remnant Nursing, which is like a whole bunch of nurses, and they're spread out throughout the United States. I think that they're still fairly new, so their organization isn't huge, but like we network with people like you and me, and then we start helping them expand their network. So they have nurses that can come and help with whatever nurse duties there are that might need to be happen instead of them having to go somewhere. Peter McCulloch, who's going to be starting his wellness company, where he's also going to be doing something very similar. And so like we just need to know where those people are, because like you said, it's like we need to be supporting them, they need to be supporting us. And gosh, it's just one of those things where it's like there's so many avenues that we have to look at. If we really, really, really are going to try to create a parallel society, we have to consider all the things, because we can only do so much. And then we have to, rely on our community in some sort of a sense. And that's why it's good to know that community.
I mean, I can say when things were getting really difficult in 2020 and it was hard to find stuff and medical things needed to happen, which was hard to get to happen because they were shutting down service providers that were quote unquote non-essential.
Mm-hmm.
I was really happy that we had the networks we already had, because in those networks were doctors who could connect us, people in our network with, okay, but I actually do need care because I have pneumonia or whatever, not pneumonia, but I'm trying to think of a good example. I need a cancer screening and now that's closed. What do I do? And they're like, you go to this other state and you go to that one. And I have a friend there. We can get you in. And don't underestimate the power of that. I think people sometimes don't realize how important it is to know a guy who knows a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know everybody knows about my stupid tooth this week and last week because I've started complaining about it. I have had a lot of help from the network about this tooth. That if I was just a loner with no friends, it would have been a very different story by the end of it.
Right.
But, somebody returned my call 2 days ago that I really needed to return my call.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And that's, that's the cool thing about network, I think. So it's funny because like Tia's concept with next steps is she wants to stop complaining and start doing.
Mm-hmm.
Which means she's our people, guys, because we're doers.
Yeah.
And she wants us to end our presentations with what are the next steps you can take on this, on this path. Hence the name. I know, scary, crazy talk here. Next steps. And I love that though. It's a very simple idea, and simple ideas are the best, especially because that one's rooted in action. So it's going to be interesting to see what the next steps are for all the different topics, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited.
And to meet people. So she's got all these great speakers. And the real reason you should go to Next Step has nothing to do with any of the presentations. It's not to meet Dr. Peter McCullough. It's not to meet Louise. It's not to meet me. It's not to meet whoever else, like Derek Brose is going to be there, right? I think Tag's going to be there. Sure, you can meet all those people, But probably the most important relationships you get out of an event like that are the other attendees that you meet that you don't even know who they are yet. They're probably not YouTube personalities or whatever. I mean, I don't want to discount the quality of the presentations or the information or any of that, but I have never been to an event where the most important thing was not the networking.
Right.
Isn't that funny?
Yes, that's
so we work really hard on content when we do events, guys. Like we put our hearts and souls into it. Hours of presentation goes into doing these like preparation to doing these presentations, and then it's like, but really, you just needed to meet the person you're sitting next to in that chair.
Come talk to us too, though, because we want to meet you.
You can network with me too.
It's so true, though. It's so true. I do the same thing every single time I go to an event. It's like that's the most important thing is who you're going to meet, especially in today's world, in today's times, and what we're really trying to create moving forward. Like we need to know who our neighbors are that are our people, and yes, they're going to be some of the speakers. Those are going to be your people for sure, but also the people that are around you are going to be in abundance more than, there's only a select few speakers, but then there's going to be more people to network. I mean, like, I think that's why the networking night, I think I'm the most excited about the networking night because I'm just going to be hopping around trying to meet all the people all the time. Like, hey, what's up? What are you for? What, like, where do you live? Are you close to me? Like, finding out geographically, like, where are our people? But yeah, no, I love that you said that. I think it's really awesome.
Yeah. Here's my latest natural cure for tooth pain. I have had so many natural cures for tooth pain. He said, hadn't had this one. Pack it with tobacco. I bet that works.
Probably.
I bet the redneck has tobacco, but I've been using clove oil actually.
Clove works really well. You can chew a stick of clove too, and or not a stick, but the little thingy of clove. Yeah. Yeah,
I got essential oils in a dropper, and I just do this every so often on the live. This week you'll see me do that, and I'm like.
Relief. Nice.
I got 20 minutes now. Yeah.
Awesome.
That is it's so funny how weak we are. It's like I'm strong except for now I have pain and I'm weak. It's like a stupid little thing.
It's like one little thing like takes you down. It's like a tooth or like something little, and you're like, how did that take me down?
Yeah, it just took me down. I just got a cold and now I can't move. Yeah. I think the second most painful thing I do is like the ridiculous things I do to my toes, like toe stubbing, and that just hangs on for a long time. And it's like my toe's not even broken. I'm being a big baby, but my toe hurts.
It's funny. I'm always laughing at my husband because he's the same. He'll stub his toe and he'll act like he just like got shot. He's like, "Go my toe," and I'm like, "Really? Come on, man."
No, if you yell, it's like you're letting the pain out. That's what it is. Tactical hears me yell some really crazy stuff, and he'll be like, I'm like, if I scream once and I stop, that's just, I was letting it out. If I keep screaming, that's when you need to come help me. That's the code.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, guys who are listening, next-steps.info. I'll actually put that in case you're interested. This is near Atlanta. Hold on. Stupid keyboard not working. It's like northeast of Atlanta, about 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, I think so. I've never been up there, but yeah, it's like on like a little island or something, Lanier Islands. I think it looks like it's going to be a really cool place.
Yeah.
Buford, Georgia, I think is the name of the actual town.
This is the interesting thing. It says Buford, Georgia, but it's something island. What is it?
Lanier Island.
Lanier Island. If I type Buford, Georgia into my phone, it takes me somewhere else.
Oh, really?
So if you're going to use GPS, put Lanier Island in. And so next-steps.info, the event is the 22nd through the 25th. And if you use Louise 10, you get a 10% discount. And she gets kudos for referring you because the organizer is always happy when you refer people. So then they know who was a better promoter. of their event. So it's a
Well,
win-win.
thank you for giving it my code.
Sure. I just want to get people there. I don't really care if I get the credit for it.
Yeah, totally.
So
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. It's very important that everyone just gets there. And also, just so you guys know, like if you can't make it to all 3 days, it is during the week. So I know that some people are going to have challenges with that. Like you can still come, just pick one day. If you want to come to the homestead day with me and Nicole, great. Come to that. It's going to be homeschooling, homesteading, home defense. We're going to have John Lovell there. We're going to have, which is going to be such an amazing presentation. There's going to be so much that day. But then you also have like the medical and the doctors and stuff on the next day, which is the third day, which would be the 24th,
Friday,
22nd, 24th. Yeah, it's Friday.
24th, yeah. Saturday is
nature walk or something like that. But Friday's gonna be like the doctors and like Dr. Brian Hooker. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but like he's amazing. He's like one of my favorite people in the entire world. And he did an entire, like, you know, they would always say like the vaxxed versus unvaxxed study of children was like unethical because you're like, well, we can't like not vaccinate kids in order to do a study. So Dr. Brian Hooker was like, actually, there's plenty of parents out there that don't want to vaccinate their kids and that would happily sign up for that. So he did a vaxxed versus unvaxxed pediatric study that was published, I think 3 or maybe 4 years ago. And so he's going to go over and he's going to show like the results of what that study showed, you know, like an actual real study that, you know, it's really good. So the medical day will be all on day 3. And then, the first day is more about opting out of the technocratic state. So of course, Derek Bros is going to be there. And I think that's when Tag's going to be talking as well. Tag will be day 1.
Yeah, Tag. I don't know if he's I don't know what his topic is because I haven't looked. But that is the day he'll be there. Okay. I'm sure he'll be there for the whole thing because he's Tag. But
I'm excited to meet him.
Oh, he's a great guy. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds really cool.
He is, and I'm glad that he got put on the speaker list there. So. He's probably going to find, so at Self-Reliance Festival in October, he made some really good connections for his network. He's probably going to have that same experience again in Georgia, where it's like we're getting this whole blob of people down here in the southeastern United States. And I don't know, the Midwest we're like morphing into the Midwest, and it's kind of cool to watch it come together. So. Yeah, totally. I love it. Awesome. Well, thanks for having me on. It was fun chatting with you. I'm so excited to actually get to go and connect with you in real life, in person, in just a couple weeks. Hopefully, some of you guys watching this, you'll come and connect with us as well. You're going to be there the whole time, right? I'm going to be there Wednesday, Thursday, and I'll leave Friday, probably midday.
Okay, so cool.
It just depends. I want to see the medical stuff, but I need to get back to the coffee at some point. So I'll figure out how I time that. So I'm not staying Friday night. That's what I know. But I'm actually really wanting to see your castle too when it's built. So
yes, we're going to have, so out here, we're actually going to do a workshop. So we're building with hempcrete. And so we're actually going to have a workshop where people can come to our property and they can learn how to build with hemp and then, get the experience. And then of course, like that's as also kind of sort of like like a woofer experience, almost sort of, but not really. Cause it'll be like a short, there'll be stuff. And my website hopefully will be launched soon. So I'll share it all with you whenever all that stuff comes out, but it's going to be really, really cool. So anyone that's watching that wants to get information on that too. It's going to be a really cool project.
So I'm sensing that you have some creative energy if you're building a castle in your permaculture paradise.
Oh yes, it doesn't stop over here. Like there's so much like just that I want to create all the time, and it's kind of a problem actually.
Why?
Because it's like we're out. Well, like we actually have a couple. We have a few people out here right now, but like it's a problem because of the fact that we like get so excited about something new and we'll start something and then we'll like get excited about a new thing and we'll start something else and we'll get excited. And then we all like kind of what you said, you get your hands into lots of little pots and then all of a sudden you realize like, oh, I can't, I've kind of bitten off more than I can chew type of thing. But it's fun. It's fun to have all, I think that I'm a creative and a visionary. And so I see things all the time. And then my husband wants to like make them come true, which is really cool. So it's fun.
I have a question that I need to answer for you because we're gonna force you to be on YouTube more. Yes, she does have a YouTube channel. This is yours, right?
Yes, that's our YouTube. And we need to
Forgotten
get
Ways
better.
PMA, huh?
We need to get better. We like record stuff, but then it's like the act of actually putting the video together to upload it, then we get stuck there because we're like, whoa. So but yeah, we do have some stuff. We have stuff back from our old travel days, but now you can see the hempcrete grain bin castle that video. I forgot that was up there. Yeah. So,
yeah, so it's Forgotten Ways PMA. This is the link for those who are interested in checking that out. And they've got some videos up there. They're beginning their process and what they're building. It's kind of cool little channel. Go give her a follow or a subscribe, I guess is what it's called on YouTube. Because she does, in fact, have a YouTube channel. See, the only reason I get video on mine, Louise, is because I don't edit anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I just like record stuff and upload it. I very rarely edit. I've edited, one of my personal goals this year is to start editing some of my videos. Yeah. But I just hate editing videos.
Yeah. That's where we get tripped up too, because we have so much really cool stuff, and I'll upload it on Instagram on like stories and stuff because it's easy. It's like 30, 45-second clips. I can just throw it up real quick. But then I'm like, to sit down and actually make a video, it's like, ooh, that's like daunting. I'm like, that's a lot of like computer work. Like I like to do other stuff. That's not my thing,
Yeah.
I want the video, but I don't want to do the video. I don't want to make the video.
Justin from 30 Day Reviews says he knows a guy who can edit. He's that guy. He does do editing.
Nice, Justin.
I've been like, here's all my crap. Just make something happen. That's basically how we work together, right, Justin?
Oh, I have so much to edit. That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, but thank you for promoting that YouTube, because yes, we do have plans to make it more, and so I will. It's on the list.
It's on the list. Yeah, there's that big list. I know how the list goes. Dawn likes to edit her videos. If you watch her videos, they're all cool and edited. I'm like, ah. And it looks like she maybe thought in advance about what she wanted to say in the video.
She had a little bit of planning that went along with that. When Nicole was just like, let's just do it.
I was just like, here's my rant. All right, Louise. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. That's Forgotten Ways PMA. And if you want to see Louise in person speaking, next-steps.info. That is near Atlanta, Georgia, in just a few weeks. Thank you so much for being on, Louise.